As you can see, this is our first meeting that we're trying to do in a paperless fashion. So some of us are better adapters and adopters than others, so hopefully all will go smoothly. But I would like to again welcome everybody who's here and those who are watching at home, and request a roll call, please.
Mr. Newhoff?
Here.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Here.
Mr. Darrow?
Here.
Mr. McClellan?
Here.
President Kohler?
Here. And would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful. Okay, so our first order of business this evening is to approve the board minutes. And we actually have two sets of minutes to approve this evening, which are not showing up on my screen.
November 28th and 30th.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. They are the minutes from November 28th and November 30th. And we've all had an opportunity to review them prior to the meeting, but are there any additions or changes or corrections to the minutes? If there are none, could I please have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. And a roll call, please.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Newhoff?
Yes.
Mr. McClellan?
Yes.
President Kohler?
Yes, that motion carries. And now let's move on to approving our meeting agenda this evening. First of all, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Yes. President Kohler, members of the Board of Education, number 8 under superintendent's items, letter D, number 1, the Science Olympiad Invitational in Westlake, Ohio, will now include middle school and high school students. The action item on your original agenda said middle school only. We were notified this afternoon that the high school is also now going to the invitational. So we need to make it clear that it's for middle school and high school for the Science Olympiad field trip. Again, number 8, letter D, action item number 1.
Anything else?
We had talked about potentially having an executive session tonight, and wanted to find out if we, as a group, think we need to do that or not.
We can certainly hold the group. My feeling is that we got quite a bit accomplished in the last session, and we have no new information at this point. So I would recommend that we postpone and make certain that we have an executive session attached to our first meeting in January. I don't know how the rest of you.
I agree.
I'm open to having a meeting. I think if there's more that we can accomplish and make sure we're in alignment, I'm open to it.
I could go either way, honestly. I just, I mean, if there is enough for us to discuss, I'm open to having a meeting. We're going to do it. I just request to be brief.
I'm certainly in favor of brief.
Phil, is there more you want to discuss?
No, it's more to make sure that, to reconfirm
We're on
that,
track.
yeah, that we're on track. So
I'm
yeah.
open.
Okay, well, I guess then what we can do is, do we need to take that as a separate motion, or can we just take it as a correction or an addition?
Treat it as an addition since we're not part of the agenda.
Okay, all righty. So what we need then is a motion to approve the agenda with both the clarification that we heard from Mr. Sawyers about the Science Olympiad high school students being included in that, and with the addition of an executive session.
That we went in last.
Yes, for the purpose of preparing for negotiations. I need a motion.
moved.
Thank you. And a second. Thank you. And could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Newmaw?
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. McClellan?
Yes.
President Kohler?
No. Okay, so moving right along, let's head into communications to the board from, first of all, from the superintendent.
Thank you, President Kohler. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be brief this evening, given our conversations of reconfiguration in our last Board of Education meeting, but I promised at our last board meeting that we would do a brief update publicly related to the work that continues related to reconfiguration. My focus is really on the parent guardian survey that's now been released. We've sent out a comprehensive update to our families related to the reconfiguration process and the work that's actually ongoing within the school district. To date, 217 responses have been received. So we are greatly appreciative of all the effort that our families are actually doing to participate in the information that we're seeking related to the grade level reconfiguration. We've continued the conversations with our staff members. Dr. Troyer, Mr. Emery, and I were at the K-1 this afternoon to specifically talk to kindergarten and first grade teachers about the current state of the process, the work that we've done to date, and answer specific questions or collect, quite honestly, pros and cons or advantages and disadvantages from the teacher's perspective related to the two options that are currently presented. So we had option 1A that changes the K-1 building into an early learning center, the 2-5 elementary school primary grades 1, 2, 3, the 2-8 building becoming grades 4, 5, 6, and then the middle school being grades 7 and 8 for configuration. And then in 1B, you just flip the location of the primary and the intermediate. So we're just changing where grades 1 through 3 and grades 4 through 6 are. So we had a great conversation with staff this afternoon. We're just continuing that process. We will move through the 2-5 in the middle school to continue to engage teachers into conversation, to talk about the educational advantages and disadvantages of either location, if any, to continue to inform our decision. We are on track for a January decision. We've promised that we intend to be done by State of the Schools on January 23rd, 2017. So the process continues. We again greatly encourage all parents to continue to participate in the online survey. We've left it open through winter recess. It's open till January 4th in hopes that we can actually take some of the information that we learned from the survey and incorporate that into the 6 parent focus groups that are scheduled that we've advertised. So the work continues, but it's been good. Beyond that, my only other piece that I'd like to talk about, I'd like to congratulate all the performing arts across the school district, including the high school who's performing this evening at the McCoy. It's been a wonderful holiday celebration, really wide variety of different types of orchestral, instrumental, and vocal music that's been shared with our families for the winter concerts. So they've been a great success, wonderful turnout, lots of activity on Facebook. So it's been very nice to see, and it's a great celebration of all the efforts that the kids put on a daily basis. And we hope to actually get to see part of the high school concert this evening because they're at the McCoy. That's my report.
Thank you very much. And I know we have a representative from Lee here this evening.
Superintendent Sawyers and the Board of Education and public participation and my fellow attendees. We have had a lot of activity in our professional development and interaction with our students throughout the month of December. I have a few things to highlight for you. Earlier this year, the New Albany High School English Department Chair Katie Roberts introduced the English teachers to EdSite, which is a website that allows teachers to build online assessments that mirror the Ohio ELA and ELA 1 and 2 end of course tests. So the humanities teachers, especially Sarah Brick and Melissa Stahl, use their personal time to learn the program and then create a humanities assessment for all freshmen. This assessment allows students to practice the unique online interface of the Ohio State tests while assessing their skills learned in the humanities program. Humanities teachers can compare results to hone in on best practices for building reading, writing, and analytic skills. The leadership teachers in the elementary school in SLC-B encourage their students to bring in extra Halloween candy in November to be donated to New Albany servicemen and women serving around the world. Students across the school made cards to go in the bags of candy to thank the soldiers for their service. Students since then have received several emails and pictures in response to this act of kindness. They also participated in a food drive, actually delivered food that was collected to the New Albany Coalition that is housed right here in the annex. Students were met by 2 of the workers and had a chance to see in person what a food pantry looks like and to hear about why some families would need to visit a food pantry. This activity allowed students to reflect upon the sacrifices that others make on a daily basis for them and to see that they also can have a positive impact on others. Reed attended From the Ground Up, which is a full-day workshop designed for teachers who teach science standards regarding geology and soil. The entire day was spent learning curriculum through hands-on, inquiry-based activities that can be easily replicated in the classroom. Great ideas were presented for using the nature preserve as an actual classroom. And the lessons from this workshop tie into the geology curriculum and connect to state standards. One of our K-1 teachers participated in the Walsh Communicate course, Succeeding with Students of Poverty. This course covered types of poverty and strategies helpful for all students, but especially helpful in working with students of poverty. Information on ADD, learned helplessness, incorporating movement into the classroom, creating a positive learning environment, encouraging a growth mindset, and how to use classroom and school success factors to improve instruction and reach all students was covered. So it was extremely comprehensive and hitting a lot of our, it's wonderful. Lindsay Harrington, another K-1 teacher, completed coursework through The Ohio State University that concentrated on current theory in cognition and instruction. Her culminating research proposal focused on assessing creativity through cognitive processes, as well as how modeling, exemplars, and prior knowledge affect creative processes. The development of this proposal helps provide clarity for how to instruct and assess creativity through an understanding of the cognitive processes. Last but not least, Lisa Betts, Lauren Jones, and Nathan Crow attended Ashland University's course, Smartboard, Flipping Your Classroom and Movies, on December 9th and 10th. This graduate level course presented new Smartboard strategies and best practices for flipping your lessons in classroom. They also were presented with practical strategies for creating and implementing self-created movie clips and videos to enhance student learning. Participants in this course designed activities and assessment tools to use in the student-centered classroom. All of those participated are excited to use these new and innovative ideas, as well as share what they learned with their colleagues. So those are just a few of the excellent things that have been happening around campus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from OTSI this evening? No? Then that takes us into our board liaison reports. And I don't know if anyone has anything to report this evening. Mr. Darrow shaking his head no.
Just for me.
Kalinowski's no.
Studios are very busy.
I can imagine at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do we have anyone who has signed up to speak this evening? Okay, then that takes us into the treasurer's item. And I believe that we can take both of those items, item 7A and 7B, together. So I'm hoping I could have a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jenkins.
Yes. Financials, we continue to run on plan for the year. And with the only highlight that I would throw out there is that the income tax sharing is still continuing to run above estimates, even though we have some of the things that we talked about earlier in the year being reduced. So what I see is that they're just collecting more income tax. So that's why those revenues are running higher than what we have estimated.
Do we have any reason to think any of that will be clawed back?
Nope. And then the two appropriation modifications. So there is let me get to the right place.
Sorry, I just want to confirm. Have we asked whether we have been explicitly told no?
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, let me figure this out. Okay, the appropriation modification. So we have a $65,000 increase to student activities. and a $4,600 increase to student managed account or district managed account, which is athletics. And the $1 increase is actually due to a grant that the district is receiving. It's running through, we'll receive the donation from the New Albany Community Foundation, and it is for a justice grant that I believe Mr. Sawyers or Dr. Troyer could speak more to. It's justice for girls.
Yes.
So we've received we're going to receive a donation to spend on, do you want to tell them what? Did you guys
Sure.
decide what that is?
There are a couple of programs actually for elementary age students that we proposed. We were actually approached by a gentleman from Justice
Brian Rogers.
yes, about what kind of programming we would want to offer if they were able to put together a grant for us. So we decided to dream big, and we put together, I think there were 6 or 7 different proposals that we thought would benefit our they kind of target the young tween girls in particularly, but boys and girls. And so we put together some programs so they'd have some choices, and they ended up liking them all. And so I think they're making an effort to fund them all. An example is Ruling Our Experiences, or ROX, R-O-X. It's a program that we've piloted in the past that helps young females learn strategies for navigating through the drama that they sometimes encounter socially as they go through those years, learning how to defend themselves, learning safety things and so forth, and just becoming stronger individuals. There's a running club that would, of course, be open to both. There's a STEM set of activities that we put together that would be available for boys and girls, and there are several others similar to that kind of focus on developing person for young people.
We're asking for the approval of the appropriation. We haven't received the formal notice from Justice. We've had some conversations. Mr. Moore is working on one last variable. There's a technology element that includes e-readers specifically for a literacy initiative, and Mr. Moore is also looking for an additional donor to offset some remaining expenditure that is not perhaps being covered by Justice for that one item that's left. But it's fairly confident that it'll come through. So in preparation for the formal notification, we're putting all the pieces and parts in place so it can move very expeditiously for second semester upon receipt.
So because we're going to,
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So we'll send more information with all the descriptors once we get the formal award notice, but we're just trying to get everything lined up that helps us move faster, given the fact that your organizational meeting's not till January 12th, so it's almost 2 weeks in, 10 days after we come back. So we're trying to look at a way to actually expedite that process, but we'll send you all the information once I get the final formal notification in writing from Justice.
That's great news.
Yeah. Are you anticipating this is a 1-year grant? Or?
I think it has future opportunity once we prove the success of what it's going to do. So there's some specific pillars that Justice is putting in place to try to help communities through grant making for education. So we had a very nice conversation. We've met with Brian a few times from Justice and talked about the specific opportunities that could be available within our school district. And again, they're targeting grades 2 through 5 and or perhaps some middle school element, but dominantly grades 2 through 5, just because of who's wearing Justice, clothing, apparel, or other things. And that's the marketplace that they see as a direct benefit that they want to give back to the young ladies. And in this case, we said also young gentlemen that are in our schools that would benefit from those types of services. So we'll have more to share, but we're just getting everything ready.
so because we are going to spend that money, we have to increase the appropriation. If for some reason we don't receive the grant, then we would adjust this negatively later.
And just because I always like to remind everyone, myself included, that just because it says appropriations doesn't mean it district money out of pocket. You'd already implied that, but I just want to make sure it's clear that this is completely offset by revenue.
That's correct, as is the 300 increase of $4,600. That's for middle school athletic concessions, and a softball camp.
I think it's a
Softball camp. So both of those will have revenues that offset, but that's the reason for the increases.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? So could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. McClellan,
Yes.
Mr. Darrow,
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff,
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski,
Yes.
Ms. Kohler.
Yes, thank you very much. And the next set of items are all superintendent items. And I would like to take them as a group as well, and it would be agenda items 8A through 8E, please.
All trying to figure out the new system.
Yes. So I need a motion to that effect, please. Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Sawyers.
Thank you, President Kohler. The personnel action items this evening are standard. I would like to honor and recognize Richard McGee has announced his retirement from the school district effective January 2nd. He's a bus driver and custodian with us, but is announced his retirement. So he's actually on your agenda this evening for action. The other employee action items are standard. Letter B, this evening you have the New Albany High School Program of Studies for 2017-18. This is the beginning of the process, as you'll recall from our presentation in our last meeting, for the formal registration process by high school students for the 2017-18 school year. That begins in January with the curriculum nights, the organizational meetings, the parent informational meetings, and then the opening of actual student registration to begin during second semester. So you have the formal program of studies that Dr. Hamilton and Mr. Carter spoke about last month. I would like to congratulate Dr. Hamilton and Mrs. Warren in particular at the high school with Mr. Carter for the immense amount of work that went into actually doing the curriculum audit to make sure that the program of studies is now completely up to date and actually has more information in it to help families make responsible choices for their children at the high school level. Field trips this evening, standard action items. We amended one, if you'll recall, for Science Olympiad. And item D, or letter D, excuse me, motion to approve the purchase for service agreement. This is for Columbus Speech and Hearing. These are for the purchase services necessary for speech and hearing to Marburn Academy. So we have to approve the contract ultimately to provide those services for Marburn. You'll recall they're now within our jurisdiction. They open in January, so we provide school psychology services as well. We actually took that action earlier in the school year, but we actually did tour Marburn today. We met with their head of school and toured the facility to actually understand and talked about future partnership opportunities between the school district and Marburn now that they'll actually be in New Albany.
If
So
I can add to this.
our kids will be there beginning January 9th. That's the date that the kids come back.
The speech and hearing is not paid for by the district. These
Right.
are out of auxiliary funds. So we are the fiscal agent for some of the money that the state sends to those schools. So that's the money that this speech and hearing is out of.
Correct.
To be clear.
However, the
school
psychologist.
psychologist.
Psychologist is
General.
our general fund
Responsibility.
responsibility.
Yes.
Speech and hearings through auxiliary, and
This
we
part of
just do
speech
the
and
hiring.
hearing is.
So kids will move in the middle of the school year?
Yes, Marburn will open second semester in the new facility, and they're extremely excited.
Excited to move? Okay.
Kids are very excited, so they're getting the brand new building. So it's very nice. Furniture is still being delivered, so we saw that very actively this afternoon when we were over. But it's a very nice facility. They've done an extremely wonderful job to help the kids, but it's completely different than what they currently have. So they're right now in a building in the 1960s. They took over a former elementary school in Columbus City. And I will tell you, I've been there. It's very, for the lack of a better word, dark. There's very few windows that exist in that elementary school. So when you walk into the new facility, it's bright, it's light, it's cheerful, wonderful paint colors. Kids were involved in the process. So I think all students coming to Marburn will have a completely different experience second semester just because of the physical surrounding and the cheerfulness that they will see when they actually enter the building. So
And
it's
you
really
might have
neat.
said this, how many of our kids are moving?
Well, there's 263 kids total right now at Marburn Academy. Dr. Troy, somewhere around that number,
Yes.
260-ish. We have plus or minus 15
Something like that from our
Students.
district. They're from
that
all
attend
over
from New Albany,
Central Ohio.
but they serve all of Central Ohio. So Bexley, Dublin, Arlington, they have kids from Worthington all over the place that go to Marburn Academy. So the one big shift for our families, and actually they're extremely excited about it. Right now, the Marburn Academy students are part of a bus route that also travels to 2 other non-public schools. Beginning in January, they'll become part of our shuttle service. So they'll actually have lower decrease bus riding times because they'll actually be close to home, unlike some of their counterparts who will now have to travel significantly to come to Marburn Academy in New Albany. Benefit to our families because the kids that live in New Albany will not be riding the bus for 45 minutes to an hour based upon the proximity.
And we're not anticipating losing any of our students in January to Marburn.
No.
So we could see a shift for the beginning of the next school year.
It's possible.
I imagine we'll keep
Depending on the
your eye
specialized needs of the child, because there's specialized services that are provided, most of them IEP based, there could very well be opportunity, but that's something we'll consciously look at based upon the developmental needs of the kids.
And the students that move, is it initiated by the school
family.
or the family? Okay.
Now, it could be a joint IEP decision, but generally it's facilitated through the family request to determine if that's the educational need that's basically the best fit.
The funds follow the student.
Correct. It's the continuum of services. And then the last item is donations. As always, we're very appreciative of any donations we receive to the school district, and you have to this evening for your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions this evening about these items? Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Darrow?
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff?
Yes.
Mr. McClellan?
Yes.
President Kohler?
Yes, those items pass. Another opportunity for public participation, and I'm thinking we don't have anyone to sign up, so that brings us to our closing items. I just wanted to share with the board and with the community that this is my last meeting as board president. Back in 2008 or 2009, around the time that I actually came on the board made sort of a decision to change the way that the presidency worked. In the past, there had been one president and she served admirably for, it's like, I don't know exactly how many years, but maybe as many as 10 years. And then when the new board was constituted, we talked about the benefit of sharing responsibility for the president's chair, which I think is important to the organization. I think that as you all know, the president, really the only function that the president has that every other board member doesn't necessarily have is actually conducting the meeting. So it makes sense, I think, to give everyone a turn and give everyone a turn to be able to sit and contribute without worried about Robert's Rules of Order. So, so I will not be seeking another term as president. I know we have a really great depth of leaders here on the board, but I would, if you'll indulge me for a few minutes, like to make a couple of observations and to say a couple of thank yous if I could. I'd like to start off by just acknowledging what a difference a year makes. You know, as you think about our organization meeting in January, I don't think there's a person who watched it or heard about it or who actually participated in that meeting who could imagine for a nanosecond that this team would have gelled and we would have come together the way that we have. So I think that's something that we need to celebrate, and we need to feel good about that as a team. So because we were able to put aside the carryover from a difficult campaign season and a tough loss for some of the existing members of the team, we were able to really affect a tremendous number of significant accomplishments over the last 12 months. And that all started very early in the year when people were willing to come together to have some very, very difficult conversations about our purpose as a board. And Mr. Darrow actually led us in a wonderful exercise that allowed us to coalesce around a statement of purpose, the reason why we're here, and what we all to help us verbalize, I think, our shared hopes for the future as well. So that statement of purpose then, in working with our new superintendent and the rest of the team, turned into a continuous improvement program that we again had an opportunity to work on together. And the CIP then provided a concrete objectives and also a complete and total alignment, at least from the board's perspective, the board's directive to our administrative team, which consists of the superintendent and the treasurer. I think that we found that of us agreed about three things actually, and we agreed about those three things because we really all care deeply about a fourth. And the three things I think that we really believe in, and our entire leadership team does, first of all, it's students first. I believe that in our explanation for our statement of purpose, we even use the term, it's about the kids, period. And I hope that for the community and for staff and for anyone else who's watching today, that you see evidence of that at every board meeting, at every meeting that is conducted by Mr. Sawyers, at every meeting you have with your principal, and with every team meeting that you have as professionals. It is about the students first, and we all agree on that. The second thing we agree on is about the importance of our teachers and our staff. Each of us, perhaps for different reasons and coming from different positions and backgrounds, each of us values and is deeply appreciative for the work that each of you as professionals in our buildings, no matter what your role, that you do each and every day. And that was another one of the threads that we found bound us together so that we could continue to forge this hardworking team. That all five of us care about deeply is leadership. We feel our responsibilities acutely. We know we were elected to be the voice of the community and, more importantly, the voice of the students in ensuring that their academic and developmental needs are being met on a daily basis. Many of us are students of leadership, I think, and we've had interesting conversations both as a board, but also kind of one-on-one and telephone conversations and outside discussions between two of us. At least I've talked to everyone here about the idea of what is it that constitutes a leader and what are our responsibilities as a leader. And the reason that we all care about these things, the students first, the value and importance of teachers and staff, and the study of leadership, is because we care passionately about outcomes of significance. We care about academic outcomes for our kids. We care deeply about developmental outcomes for our kids. We not only want them to be achieving at high levels, but we want them to be self-confident and citizens of the world and be able to go out and confidently represent themselves in the world once they leave us here. And we care about leadership because we know it's going to take leadership to accomplish our objectives. So those are kind of, I think, what our achievements are. And that brings me to my thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank my fellow board members. This has not always been an easy year. I think we've had some good fights, possibly some bad fights along the way, but we have really, I think, learned how to work together because of our interest in achieving the same. Thank you very much for that and for supporting me in this role. I'd also like to thank our superintendent, Mr. Sawyers, who has had an absolutely exceptional half year, actually, as a true superintendent, but months, you have truly been exceptional. You jumped right in. You put together an incredible leadership team in very short order, and you managed to attract some of the best talent that there is in Central Ohio as far as being able to meet the needs of our kids. And you have accomplished this complete alignment, I think, working with the board, but it's absolutely throughout the organization now. And it's all happened within the last, maybe even a little bit less. It's just incredible. And I think it's because of your attitude. You lead by example. It's a result of your commitment. And because of your attitude, because of your commitment, because of your respect for the people who work for you and for the people that you work for, you have, within the space of very short period of time, established 4 months, 4 months, established this level of trust that people at all levels of the organization, I think, are responding to. So thank you for that. Our treasurer also serves great things. Ms. Jenkins is probably the best treasurer certainly in Central Ohio. Probably, I'd put you in the top 5 in the state of Ohio. She is extremely accomplished, extremely knowledgeable, always prepared, understands better than other treasurers that I have heard spoken of what the real mission of this organization is. And she cares about outcomes that are not just financial outcomes. In fact, she has pegged her performance pay to achieving the academic outcome that the rest of us have all committed to reaching. Becky was stability during a time of chaos, basically, and provided that sort of steady leadership and also the insight, I think, to know what it was the district needed in terms of a leader at this particular point in time. So thank you very, very much for that. Thank you also, again, to our team, Michael, to the teachers, to the building administrators, to the folks who do all those support jobs that keep the buildings open and heated and clean, and the kids transported safely from place to place, and children fed, all the things that as a mother you tend to worry about. So we have had some hard times in the last couple of years. In fact, during my time on the board, I've actually cried with you over some of the the decisions that we had to make. I think that we have mourned the best of the old ways, if that makes sense. I think that when we were at our best, we were focused on innovation, and our hopes and optimism were sky high. And then we were sort of plunged into despair as we realized that we needed to rethink what our hopes and ambitions were, particularly in view of the community's expectations for continued financial sustainability of the school district. So right-sizing was painful. It was very difficult. I hope we never, ever have to go through that again. I think that once bitten, twice shy. I don't think you have to talk to any of the 5 of us or talk us into living within a budget. I think we all understand that very clearly, and we have all committed to pegging any point in time where we do come back to the community to ask for more funds, pegging that request to proven results and a proven return on investment. So I think really in the last year, we've sort of come to experience this hope, I think, and we've sort of risen Phoenix-like again. And I think what I feel in the district now, and it started maybe at convocation this year, was this feeling of enthusiasm and optimism. And I really do believe that we are in a much better place today than we were. So through it all, I just really compliment and appreciate the professional way that each and every person has done their job, the way that you've been able to embrace change, that you've kept the chaos and the disappointment from affecting the work that you do for our kids. So thank you. And I think that through our aligned leadership now, and knowing that their students come first, and knowing that we're focused on the right outcomes, that 2017 and beyond will be great, great years of opportunity until we hit, and we are ranked in the top 5% of school districts in the state of Ohio. So thanks for indulging me. I may not get to speak like this again. It was important to me, and I appreciate it. So, and that just leaves us with one more order of business, and that is to approve going into executive session for the purpose of preparing for negotiations.
Can I just thank Laura publicly for her leadership? I feel like we would be remiss without thanking our leader over this last year. You know, had such a steady hand in guiding us and helping us go from storming to performing, and we wouldn't be where we are today without you. So thank you so much for all your dedication, and you're not leaving us, but really, you know, grateful for your leadership this last year.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for parliamentary purposes, please be reminded that at the organizational meeting in January of 2016,
You're still
you
leading.
took action that Laura is president until you convene and go through the election process at your January 17 meeting on January 12th.
So you're not off the hook until then.
Although this is your last
gosh.
public regular meeting, you have to convene. That's why I'm telling you. You still have to convene the org meeting and run the election process, and then you pass the gavel.
Just for a minute.
So it'll be short, but this is your last regular meeting. Additional duty left.
It's the procedural stuff that get you.
Just for the record, you are president until January 12th.
Oh, gosh, I was going to head to South America and spend all my money. Oh.
We haven't achieved our goals yet.
Oh.
There's no money to spend.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Our $700 are on hold, are they not? Okay, so can I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thought perhaps it would die for lack of a second.
Go to the temptation. Go to the temptation.
Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. McClellan?
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff?
Yes.
President Kohler?
Yes, motion passes. We don't anticipate taking any action when we come out of executive session. Thanks so much.